And we're doing that scene where it's, you know, they catch me. I'm in the neighbor's house and they catch me and they put me up on the little hook. And they, you know, yeah, they're gonna do like, you know, we were waiting, they were setting up the cameras and the lights and all those things. And he's like.
Macaulay Culkin's story isn't just about the iconic kid star of Home Alone. It's a haunting tale of survival, loss, and reinvention. What happens after the cameras stop and music rolling? For Macaulay, decades of extraordinary pressures and heartbreaking family tragedies have shaped his life far beyond the silver screen. How does a person who once controlled every scene break down in front of the world? Behind the laughter and legendary scream lies a man wrestling with scars most can't see. When a sudden personal loss hit him in early 2026, and music, it reopened wounds no fame or fortune had ever fully healed. The recent loss and personal grief. In January 2026, Macaulay Culkin faced a heartbreaking loss that struck deeper than any he had previously endured. Catherine O'Hara, his co-star and one of the few adults who had provided a sense of comfort during his tumultuous childhood, passed away at age 71 from complications related to a pulmonary embolism and cancer. For Macaulay, this loss was not just about a beloved colleague. It reopened wounds tied to a time when he felt vulnerable and unprotected. O'Hara had represented a rare safe harbor amid the chaos surrounding his early years. The bond dated back to the filming of Home Alone in 1990, when O'Hara took it upon herself to care for Macaulay between scenes. On set, she ran lines with him, checked that he had eaten, and ensured he got rest. This kindness meant the world to a boy whose home life was often marked by fear and pressure. For Macaulay, O'Hara was more than a co-star. She was a mother figure during one of the most isolating chapters of his life. Over the years, Macaulay often reflected on that gentle presence, contrasting it sharply with the tension he experienced elsewhere. Interviews from 2024 and 2025 reveal a man deeply aware of how rare that calm was in his childhood. He credited O'Hara with making the film set feel safe and warm, a stark contrast to the emotional strain he endured beyond the camera. Her death felt less like losing an industry peer and more like losing a guardian he had come to rely on in his heart. When O'Hara received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2023, the connection between them was visible and music touching. Her speech celebrated their time together, and images of the young Kevin Mallister beside photos from their recent reunion spread online, reminding the world of their enduring bond. But that tender thread abruptly broke with her passing in 2026, sending shock waves through everyone who knew her and those who understood her significance to Macaulay. When the news hit, Macaulay put up this really sincere tribute on Instagram. You know, college with bits and pieces from the early 90s, and then that reunion moment in 2023. The caption starts kind of plain with "just mama," like that famous cry from Home Alone. But it was different, heavier, like it carried real loss. He talked about regret over time that was lost in words he never got to say. It was grief mixed up with guilt, plus that tight ache of unfinished business. Honestly, it felt like that post opened a door to a kind of pain the public had never quite seen before. Then, in a May 2026 interview, Culkin was pretty music direct about what the loss did to him. He said it felt like there was unfinished business between them. And he even admitted he felt like he owed her a favor. For someone who spent years building boundaries and keeping his story controlled, those words were kind of exposed. They made it sound like he wasn't just mourning a friend, but some essential piece of his own healing process, like part of the puzzle that never fully closed. Afterward, the sadness seemed to hang around him for days. Photos showed Macaulay stepping out of the offices of United Talent Agency, head down, face unreadable in that quiet way. For a person who's always been in the spotlight, that silence really said a lot. The usual playful bounce was gone, and even the quick deflection or sharp remark didn't really show up. What was left was raw, undeniable grief. The kind that reveals the person underneath the legend, not just the name on the screen. To understand why this loss affected Macaulay so profoundly, we have to go back to where his story began. Long before the fame, the headlines, and the heartbreak, he was just a young boy growing up in circumstances that would shape the rest of his life. Early fame and family pressure. Macaulay Culkin's entry into the spotlight began long before he became a household name. Born into a large family in a cramped New York City apartment, his childhood was marked by financial hardship and intense pressure. His father, Kit Culkin, once a promising actor himself, saw Macaulay as his chance for success, and from a very early age, Macaulay was thrust into the demanding world of auditions and performances. And music. While other children were learning to play, Macaulay was learning how to take direction, memorize lines, and navigate the complexities of show business. The household was crowded and fraught with uncertainty. Money was tight, and the emotional atmosphere shifted with every missed bill or delayed rent payment. Music. This instability made Macaulay's earnings far more than pocket money. They became lifelines for the entire family. That reality turned what should have been childhood fun into a high-stakes balancing act, where each successful audition could ease the family's financial strain. But a break in work spelled collective anxiety. Kit Culkin's disappointment over his own stalled career spilled over into his treatment of his children. To him, Macaulay was not just a son, but a symbol of hope, an opportunity to reach a dream he never fully achieved. This fueled relentless pressure from a young age. Even Macaulay's unique calmness and professionalism, qualities that later won him roles, became ammunition for his father's intense demands. The line between support and control grew thin, as Macaulay's schedule filled with commercials and small roles. The gap between his real childhood and his public persona widened. He trained at the School of American Ballet and performed in stage productions, long before he understood what life away from the stage might feel like. His days were ruled by rehearsals, costume fittings, and set calls, replacing the friends and freedom that most kids enjoyed. The machine of his career was already humming, and Macaulay was too young to grasp its magnitude. Despite the heavy demands, Macaulay developed a remarkable work ethic and resilience. Casting directors quickly noticed his discipline and ability to perform under pressure, traits rare in someone so young. His professionalism made him a reliable presence on a music set, but it also masked the strain building beneath the surface. At home, the family increasingly relied on his success, adding layers of emotional weight to every job. That dynamic created a shift where a child, became the financial anchor of an entire household. Success was no longer just celebratory, it was essential. If Mako booked roles, bills were paid, tensions eased. But if work slowed, the pressure at home intensified, making every audition feel like a defining moment. Underneath the thriving career was a boy carrying burdens far beyond his years. By the early 90s, Macaulay was earning large sums, yet he had little control over the money. The adults managing his career were often those who depended on his earnings, blurring lines between professional guidance and personal exploitation. This imbalance planted seeds of conflict that would later erupt in painful legal battles. The emotional cost of this control was heavy, foreshadowing darker struggles ahead. The path laid during this childhood was both a foundation for success and the beginning of fractures that would shape the rest of Macaulay Culkin's life. Home Alone phenomenon and career peak. Everything changed with Home Alone. When Macaulay Culkin stepped into the role of Kevin McAllister, no one predicted the cultural powerhouse that would emerge. The film opened in November 1990, capturing the hearts of audiences worldwide and turning Macaulay into a global icon almost overnight. His blend of mischief, wit, and genuine emotion made Kevin not just a character, but a symbol of childhood ingenuity. The world saw the scream and the aftershave moment. But they didn't see the pressures mounting behind that smile. The success of Home Alone was extraordinary. It dominated box offices for weeks and amassed hundreds of millions in revenue, elevating Macaulay's status in music and demand. Suddenly, he was the face of Christmas and one of the most famous children on the planet. With this fame came multi-million-dollar paydays, and studios viewed him as pure profit. But this success rapidly translated into heightened expectations from Hollywood and his family alike. Behind the scenes, the environment was far from idyllic. Despite his young age, Macaulay found himself at the center of tense negotiations, cast demands, and a business that treated him more like a commodity than a child. His father's increasing grip on his career meant more leverage, but also more control, blurring the lines between protection and pressure. The excitement surrounding his career masked an uneasy reality where personal boundaries were often ignored. The sequel, Home Alone 2, kind of catapulted Macaulay's earnings and name recognition way higher. So much so, he became one of the highest paid child actors of his generation. But then, all that attention came with heavier burdens. Every movie had to do well, and every part wasn't just judged on talent. It was judged on how much he moved the box office, too. Fame started to feel like it pressed harder because that weird balance between being a kid and building a career tipped more and more toward the career side. Around that point, Macaulay's range grew with roles in My Girl and The Good Son, which basically showed he could work with more dramatic and darker material. Still, the public kept linking him to that signature Kevin character, and that made everything feel complicated. Some roles highlighted real depth, while other projects seemed to try to recapture the warm, family, friendly vibe people wanted from the earlier days. Through it all, the constant speed of work just kept wearing on him, and the gap between what folks saw and what was going on in private life got wider, even with all of that. His professionalism stayed noticeable. Colleagues described him as dependable and ready, not really giving into tantrums or getting pulled off course. But the never-ending schedule, family obligations, and the spotlight checking him from every angle created this exhausting loop. Playtimes got swapped out for auditions, and childhood gradually became something the industry consumed like it was hungry for results. The machine kept running no matter the cost. The complexities around his career and control music erupted into a battle that would expose deeper fractures within his family and set the stage for intense personal struggles ahead. Family control and legal battles. Macaulay Culkin's fight for financial autonomy marked a critical and painful chapter in his life. By age 15, he recognized the need to break free from the tight hold his parents had over his earnings. In 1995, he petitioned a New York court to remove both his parents from control of his fortune, seeking instead an independent trustee to manage his money. This legal move was about more than finances. It was a bid for personal survival and the reclaiming of his own life after years under overwhelming pressure. The Battle of Music brought public attention to the complicated and often strained dynamics within the Culkin family. Behind the scenes, Macaulay had described his father as physically and emotionally abusive, painting a picture of fear, threats, and control that extended far beyond mere career management. The courtroom drama revealed the hidden cost of a child's fame, tangled with family dysfunction. It became clear that the trust controlling his millions was also a source of profound personal conflict. This fight was not about choosing one parent over the other. Rather, Macaulay sought neutrality, a third party to handle his earnings responsibly. At its core, it was a young person asserting a desperate need for independence from a system that had turned him into a financial linchpin. The court case exposed how much Macaulay's upbringing had been sacrificed to the demands of money and control, stripping away space to simply be a teenager. During the legal struggle, Macaulay kept his composure kind of steady and still kept working. But the emotional cost, it was noticeable, a real weight. The whole case made clear this rough truth a lot of child stars run into. When fame arrives, it can look like luck and fortune, but it can also invite exploitation from the people closest nearby. For Macaulay, the courtroom wasn't only a business to music dispute. It felt more like a fight to regain dignity and the ability to choose. And you could see this wasn't a quick win. It kind of set the stage for a longer rebuilding, a slow reclaiming of his life's music from the shadows of that young, early era. Taking his parents out of the picture in a formal and practical way was a symbolic move toward autonomy. But it also meant facing the painful reality that some family fractures aren't healed just by time or good intentions. Those scars from that season didn't stay quiet either. They kept moving through his personal life and his professional relationships too for years. Eventually, the mess and fallout from all of this started overlapping with public attention and the tabloid gossip, which made his efforts to reshape his story a lot harder. Financial independence, despite sounding like pure escape, didn't remove the past. It was more like the beginning. A new chapter with real hope in it, but also unresolved pain still there, just waiting. And music, the challenges of family and control tie directly into the personal tragedies and public rumors that would later envelop his life. Deepening the complexity of his journey, personal loss and public rumors. Macaulay Culkin's life has been deeply marked by personal tragedies that left lasting scars. In May 2000, his half-sister Jennifer Adamson passed away at age 29 due to an accidental substance overdose in Montana. Although she had largely stayed out of the public eye, her death resonated as a quiet loss within the family. Then in December 2008, another devastating blow struck when his sister Dakota was tragically hit by a car in Los Angeles and died the next day from severe head trauma. The accident's aftermath left no clear target for blame, only a grief that settled heavily over those who loved her. These losses were compounded by relentless media speculation and damaging rumors that dogged Macaulay for years. Tabloids frequently published sensational stories, claiming he was battling severe substance abuse or near death. Rumors wildly exaggerated and unsupported by evidence. Photographs circulated showing him looking thin and gaunt, fueling a public narrative of decline. For years, the tabloids' portrayal overshadowed the reality, turning his private struggles into a spectacle. The public's fascination with his supposed downfall ignored the complexity beneath the surface. Macaulay's rare public statements confirmed he had experimented with substances, but firmly rejected the notion that he was spiraling out of control. He clarified that stepping away from major Hollywood films was a personal choice, not the result of instability or addiction. His refusal to engage extensively with tabloid portrayals reflected a desire to shield himself from a false and damaging image. Despite these denials, the rumors and music stuck stubbornly, impacting how fans and observers viewed him. The narrative of a fallen child star became a persistent cloud, difficult to shake. This public distortion added a layer of isolation to his personal grief, complicating his efforts to heal and music privately. The blurry lines between truth and invention in the media left Macaulay fighting not only internal pain, but external misconceptions. These challenges really bring out the cruel side of fame, where the private stuff, those intimate hardships, gets kind of flattened into gossip, a caricature, not even the real deal. Macaulay's remark about being tired of rough moments turning into permanent identities. It kind of nails that emotional drain of living under constant music scrutiny. And then there's the pressure to keep defending himself, which just added more weight to an already burdened spirit. What stands out is how his resilience shows up even with all these obstacles. And music, and it's a complexity that casual observers often miss or rush past it. The effects of loss and rumor, they seem to steer the way he moved through life and career, pushing him toward a stronger kind of control over his story. It becomes obvious fame does offer a promise, but it also arrives with unexpected fees, loneliness, misunderstanding, and a crowd that judges without much empathy, like on repeat. These stacked struggles basically set up the next stage, a more intentional route, sometimes unconventional, where the path isn't just a straight line. For Macaulay, it stopped being mainly about trying to get back the childhood stardom and more about reclaiming who he is, his own identity. And his experience also kind of shines a light on the way grief can stay invisible, even when people think they know everything. outside of the headlines, he was still living inside sorrow. And that sorrow shaped his relationships, shaped life choices, shaped music, in ways that don't always show up right away. The pressure of trauma from family deaths, mixed in with the burden of persistent rumors, created a uniquely difficult road. Still, it was that exact tension that pushed him to look for new methods to express himself beyond the child's star label. Grief and public misconception would continue threading through his life, connecting with the controversies and unexpected friendships that followed. Relationship with Michael Jackson. One of the most scrutinized chapters in Macaulay Culkin's life was his friendship with Michael Jackson, a bond that captured public fascination and fueled controversy. Macaulay Music first visited Jackson's Neverland Ranch around 1990, and their relationship continued throughout his teenage years. From the outside, their connection appeared unusual, raising eyebrows and inviting intense media speculation. Despite this, Macaulay maintained the relationship amid growing public curiosity and scrutiny. During Michael Jackson's 2005 molestation trial, Macaulay's name surfaced repeatedly in court. Prosecutors suggested that Macaulay might have been involved in inappropriate activities while at Neverland. At 24, Macaulay testified vigorously for the defense, denying any wrongdoing or abuse. His testimony was clear and firm. He described the allegations as absolutely music, ridiculous, and emphasized that nothing inappropriate ever happened between him and Jackson. Macaulay also expressed frustration with how his name had been used by various parties for their own agendas. He felt the ongoing association to these allegations unfairly tainted his reputation and complicated his public image. Despite his denial and legal testimony, the cloud of scandal lingered in the public consciousness for years. The friendship, meant to be private and supportive, instead became a source of unwanted attention and difficulty. Highlights how personal relationships can become tangled in public judgment and rumor, especially in high-profile cases. Macaulay's participation in the trial illustrated both his loyalty and his desire to set the record straight. He stood firm amid intense pressure, demonstrating a commitment to truth despite the complexities involved. However, the lasting media coverage kept music, the controversy, alive, making it an unavoidable chapter in his life story. The fallout affected not only his public standing, but also reinforced his distrust of mainstream narratives. The experience deepened his awareness of how fame can distort private realities. It may have influenced his later choices to engage in less conventional, more self-directed projects that confuse traditional expectations. This distancing was part of a broader effort to reclaim control over his own story. His willingness to speak openly during the trial also signaled a rare moment of transparency in an otherwise guarded life. By bearing witness in a high-pressure situation, he showed resilience and courage outside of the acting spotlight. The episode marked a defining moment when Macaulay faced one of the darkest public storms of his career head-on. Over time, Macaulay's relationship with Michael Jackson became part of a larger narrative about the costs of childhood fame and the shadows it can cast. It touched on themes of trust, vulnerability, and exploitation that echoed throughout his life. The complexities of this relationship helped shape a new chapter where Macaulay sought to rewrite his public image through creativity and humor. Reinventing public image. After years of being defined by childhood roles and turbulent headlines, Macaulay Culkin took control by deliberately reshaping his public persona in ways that few could have expected. Rather than chase the conventional comeback that many former child stars attempt, he leaned into projects that were quirky, unconventional, and self-aware. In 2012, he formed the Pizza Underground, a comedy rock band that parodied the Velvet Underground with lyrics about pizza toppings and delivery. The band's playful absurdity reflected Macaulay's growing comfort with embracing humor and defiance as tools to rewrite the public's perception of him. This phase marked a clear break with the image Hollywood and tabloids had painted, a washed-up star falling apart under pressure. Instead, Macaulay cultivated a persona that was mysterious, often silly, and entirely his own. He understood that by making himself the joke first, he could diffuse gossip and create a buffer against invasive speculation. The band toured small venues until quietly fading away a few years later, but it planted the seeds for a longer game of self-defense. Away from traditional Hollywood's glare, Macaulay explored various independent and experimental projects. Films like The Wrong Ferrari and Music, Adam Green's Aladdin embraced a low-budget surreal vibe, distancing him from mainstream expectations. These odd choices were seen as puzzling by some, but underscored his desire to take creative risks on his terms. The new image that emerged was of a cultured outsider, willing to poke fun at fame, rather than be consumed by it. This reinvention extended beyond projects to public interactions with fans and media. In 2018, after an online vote, he legally changed his name to Macaulay Culkin, a playful nod to the absurdity of celebrity culture. He reprised Kevin Mallister in clever ad campaigns, such as a Google Assistant Christmas commercial and a 2024 Uber Eats spot. But these appearances were tightly controlled and self-aware. These moves illustrated a man no longer captive to his past, but selectively revisiting it on his own terms. By late 2025, Culkin openly set boundaries with fans, emphasizing the importance of him music, privacy, and control. He stated he did not want strangers approaching him during personal moments like eating or walking, asserting control over his interactions. This insistence on defining the terms of engagement reveals a deep awareness of the toll music fame has taken and a commitment to preserve his autonomy. For years, he had been described by others. Now, he was describing himself. This approach to fame also reflects a broader shift in how celebrities manage their public images in an era saturated with social media and instant gossip. Macaulay's blend of humor, distance, and intentional presence offers a blueprint for surviving and thriving after early stardom. It's a testament to resilience and ingenuity in the face of an often unforgiving spotlight. That growth would soon find its clearest expression through a new role, one far removed from the glare of Hollywood cameras: parenthood and healing. Fatherhood introduced a profound stabilizing force in Macaulay Culkin's life, reshaping his priorities and offering a new path forward. In 2017, he met actress Brenda Song during the filming of Changeland in Thailand. Her music marking the beginning of a relationship that would anchor him during a quieter phase of life. Their first son, Dakota Song Culkin, was born in Los Angeles on April 5, 2021, named in honor of Macaulay's late sister Dakota, a poignant tribute linking his past grief to his new family. A second son followed in late 2022, often reported as Carson, completing what Macaulay affectionately calls his little three-man circus. Becoming a father shifted Macaulay's outlook on life, focusing his energy on creating a childhood for his sons that was very different from his own. Estranged from his father for nearly 3 decades, he has spoken openly about the fear, pressure, and emotional control he experienced growing up. This history motivated him to build a home defined by love, safety, and encouragement. A place where his children would feel supported rather than burdened. Using the word proud with his sons became a deliberate act, as it was a word he rarely heard during his own upbringing. Fatherhood also softened Macaulay's relationship with his past, including the legacy of Home Alone. By 2023 and 2024, he spoke about watching those films with his boys and feeling pride instead of being trapped by childhood memories. This change signifies healing, as the movies that once symbolized pressure and loss now represent connection and joy. It's a reclaiming of narrative where past and present coexist in a healthier balance. His transition into parenthood seemed to line up with him showing up in acting and public life a bit more on his own terms. Even though he was still involved in those non-traditional projects, Macaulay kept juggling his creativity with family responsibilities. Like he was finding a steadier way to blend work with personal maturing. And the kind of stability he has with Brenda's song and their children really stands out against those earlier chaotic years, the ones loaded with rumors and loss. Also, this era kind of mirrors a bigger renewal story that a lot of former child stars end up facing. They find some real calm when they move into roles beyond the screen, not just as a job, but as a new kind of purpose. Rising children can restart your sense of direction and gives a doorway to untangle pain that you might have absorbed from older generations. In Macaulay's case, fatherhood wasn't only about family. It felt like a deep personal shift, a way to rewrite the narrative through love and protection. And then there's his decision to name his son after his sister Dakota. That choice makes it clear that grief can remain woven into the family fabric, part of the bond and part of the ongoing healing. It's basically an homage that links tragedy with hope. It honors what happened while still reaching forward. That small yet careful act of remembrance helps guard memory and, at the same time, builds resilience. Of course, being a father also brought challenges, because Macaulay had to deal with public curiosity while he wanted privacy. He has consistently talked about boundaries, trying to shield his family from that invasive spotlight that used to swallow his life. It's that balance between being open and staying protected, which reads like a more refined understanding of fame's dangers and a shame music, real commitment to keep his kids safe and grounded. With this renewed strength, Macaulay's journey forward holds promise, shaped as much by his past as by the family he now cherishes. Macaulay Culkin's life is a powerful story of surviving childhood fame, personal loss, and the struggle to reclaim control. From the bright lights of Home Alone to the silence after tragedy, His journey reminds us that what happens behind the scenes often shapes us most. Hey, music, deeply. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives behind the headlines.